Of that, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Welcome to the show. We do wish you all a very warm welcome. We're very
This is Paul Sharratt in his most popular role as the producer and frontman of Australia's longest running live show, the Music Hall Follies.
That's why the pretty girls don't care for me.
To say Paul likes what he does is an understatement. This is our own Mr. Show Business in his element.
Yeah, I was one of those kids who always wanted to be in show business and would charge the neighbours a penny to come and watch the show in the garage when I was 8 or 9 years old. I always wanted to be in the business, and you know, it's something I've never actually done anything else for one day of my life since the day I left school except show business. Most people have to do something else. They have to sort of drive a taxi for a while, but I've always been lucky enough to manage to scrape often a living in the business for the 43 years it is now.
They've on a weekend for two at
And Paul has certainly crammed a lot into those 43 years. He's performed in 33 countries, worked with some of the biggest names in the business, and since arriving on the Gold Coast in 1971, has produced some of this state's most popular stage and television shows.
Tell him what to do, tell him where to do.
Who could forget his multi-Logie award-winning variety show Studio 9, which ran for more than 5 years during the 1970s.
It's what our program is brought to you, and in...
And then, of course, there was Aughton's Old Time Music Hall, produced here on the Gold Coast, the show which brought vaudeville to the small screen.
It's the Paul Sharratt Tonight Show.
During the 12 years he spent in television, Paul produced more than 500 shows for Australia and overseas, making him one of the most prolific producers in the country. But despite his successes, he's not about to rush back in front of the cameras.
I was never totally comfortable on television. I believe I made a contribution in as much as the effort that we made to produce shows like Studio 9 and The Tonight Show, and You Asked For It, and Regency's Country Homestead, and The Lee Conway Show, and all the shows that we did gave lots of people an opportunity, and perhaps it was necessary for me to spearhead it in order to make the shows work because I had 12 years of television, but I was never totally comfortable with television. That's the first time I've ever said that, but it's quite true.
Apart from his role as producer of this show, Paul is quite content being out of the television limelight, more intent on maintaining the success of his Music Hall Follies, now running in both Brisbane and on the Gold Coast. And it's a formula which has worked very well for him.
But I think there'll always be an audience for vaudeville. People say vaudeville is dying, but I don't really think it is. It might be around in another name, but I think because, particularly when things are tough, people are looking for something light and something that is fun. I think there'll always be vaudeville, and things tend to take a cycle, and maybe we're coming back again, you know, to a time of musical and light entertainment.
Welcome to Stairway to the Stars, as we said, Queensland's longest-running television talent quest, and we're lovely to have you with us.
Over the years, Paul has been just as successful launching the careers of others as he has been in his own.
There are 10 or 12 young people who started with us in Happy Go Round and You Asked For It and those kid shows that I picked. Lots also of talented people who made it in Stairway to the Stars who are now starring in shows all around Australia, and that gives you a really great feeling. I enjoy that more than anything.
Paul Sharratt has had a colourful life, to say the least. Since starting in show business in England in the 1940s, Paul has performed with some of the biggest names in the world, met with the Queen and Margaret Thatcher, and produced some of Australia's most spectacular events, including the 1982 Commonwealth Games Gala. But of all those encounters, he rates as his most memorable the time he spent as entertainment director of the British Pavilion at World Expo 88.
I took the British Pavilion from one of the sort of low-budget, not expected to be successful pavilions into one of the top 4 or 5 pavilions, and people were kind enough to say that the entertainment played a major part in that, so that made us very proud.
As Paul looks back now on more than 4 decades in show business, he is able to narrow down at least part of the reason for his longevity. He says it's his ability to move with the times and know what the public wants and when they want it.
I think that you get adjusted to the fact that in show business, as soon as something starts, you know at some stage it's going to finish. And this is one of the hard parts of show business, and why possibly I would never talk anybody into being in show business. If a show starts on television, however successful it is going to come the day when it will be the last of it, whether it be a 12-week series or like some of my shows run for 4 or 5 years on television, whether it's the Music Hall that's been running for 18 years, 10 years at the Iluka Beach Resort. You know at the back of your mind one day there's going to come a day when it'll be the last day, and you must adjust for that, allow for it, and look on.
These days, Paul spreads the 60 hours he works every week between his music hall commitments, producing Gold Coast Review, and overseeing the Tropicarnival Festival, a role which he has held since its inception 11 years ago, and a role which helped to earn him the Gold Coast Citizen of the Year award in 1990. It's a lifestyle that's hectic, but one that he clearly enjoys and has no intentions of giving away, at least not for a while.
Yes, I'm still going, and I think the answer is because I like what I do, I believe what I do, and I hope that I have given the best of service that I can to the industry that I'm in. I have devoted myself a lot to it. I haven't tried, you know, to do more than I hope my capabilities, and I think because of that, you know, one can go on for a long while.